So, ladies and gentlemen, we have to have this honest conversation. Is this going to be Zeke's last year in Dallas? Does it make sense to have this conversation? We're going to go through all that in today's video. Now, I know that there are some people that will not like the fact that I'm making this video, but I'm here to go through a thorough analysis for why this might or might not be a make or break year for Ezekiel Elliott. Now, before we get started, if you can like this video, subscribe if you're new, hit that notification bell, and write down in the comment section below, do you think this is a make or break year for Zeke? Tell me down below. So, to start things off, we need to set the table of where Zeke is at in this current point right now in his career. Now, Zeke has gone out and said that he wants to try and make the Hall of Fame. He wants to hit 10K rushing yards, which is definitely doable when you look at his career stats. But the main thing is what has Zeke done since he's come into the league, and is there a problem? Well, I think a lot of people forget that Zeke has been the most, or one of the most, consistent running backs in football in terms of starting since he's entered the league. The guy has, on average, gotten 1,000 rushing yards plus, about 8 touchdowns a season, and a couple of receptions here and there in the passing game, and his elite ability to pass protect. That is something that I think a lot of people forget. And Zeke has been a full package at the running back spot that I think many people forget about when he came in. And I even said this when he entered the league. I felt that you were getting a guy that's going to be a generational talent at the running back position. And so far, has he been that? Well, he's been consistent, but I think it's really going to matter of what happens in the twilight years of his career. Does he finish his career in Dallas? Does he get into 30? Like, that is going to be the biggest thing for Zeke. What happens in the later stages? That is what truly makes a running back generational. Now, looking at his statistics, and I want to make this clear, for those that don't think that Zeke can hit 10K yards, right? 10,000 rushing yards, excuse me. When you look at the stats, right? Ezekiel Elliott, as of this current moment, has 7,387 rushing yards in 6 seasons in the NFL. That is a damn good mark to have. Now, I did put a tweet out, and I touched on, hey, is it possible that Zeke makes the Hall of Fame? And yeah, there is a definite possibility that he can, especially this 10K mark. You mean to tell me this dude needs to rush for 2,700 more yards in the remainder of his career to hit 10,000 rushing yards? It's definitely doable. The guy's 26, 27 years old, and I think that he's, if he even averages 1,000 rushing yards for, let's just say, 3 more seasons, or hell, even 4, even if he continues to play, that still pushes him over the top. The key thing, too, is rushing touchdowns and the touchdowns overall. Zeke Elliott has been relatively efficient there, and they put him on the goal line situations, which I have been saying, if you're in a goal line situation, just give it to Zeke, let him power through, and the Cowboys did that a couple times last season, and that definitely resulted in plenty of touchdowns there. The main thing, and I've said this numerous times before, make Ezekiel Elliott a more efficient running back, and earlier on in the season, he definitely was. The injury to the PCL definitely put him in a situation to where he was slowed down, and he wasn't able to do a whole lot. So, going back to the main question, is this a make or break year for Ezekiel Elliott? Well, when you look at the contract, which is like the biggest thing that has been talked about, looking at the numbers, Ezekiel Elliott has a huge $18 million cap hit. That is insane as a running back. And you look at the remainder of the years, he still has 4 remaining years on the contract, between on average about $15-16 million in a cap hit. So if I'm the Cowboys, do you part from Zeke? Well, it comes down to how he does in 2022 and moving forward. When you look at the potential out going into 2023, if the Cowboys were to cut Zeke, they would pretty much hit a neutral mark. Like, they could cut him, but they wouldn't save or gain anything out of it, even if it's a post-June 1st release, right? You have dead cap in 2023 and 2024, and sure, you save some money, but I'm not a big friend, a big proponent of dead cap. I don't like that being on my a part of my team, and I hope that you don't have any of that, because that's really just wasted resources right there. I mean, $5 to $6 million is like a solid vet, and I know that sounds really stupid to say, but if you get a guy like Anthony Barr for, like, let's say $5 million, like, that's a key guy right there. But going into 2024, if you make a cut there, you still have some dead cap, but now the savings are a lot more intrusive. You'd be saving around $2 million if you did it pre-June 1st, but post-June 1st, you're probably looking at $6 million saved, and that's key. But the way Zeke's contract is made out, you're really not going to have a clean release up until 2025, and that is something that I want to make this very, very clear to everybody watching, is that the Cowboys, because they touched Zeke's contract, if you are trying to move on from the guy, it's not going to be easy. But, and again, this is a running back. This isn't like a quarterback asset, a wide receiver. Running backs are like cars. They are depreciating assets once you get them, and especially if you give them contracts. The only way that they remain that way is if they, like, have like a Frank Gore type of ability to keep chugging along at higher ages and stuff like that, right? And that is something that I think a lot of people will be looking at with Zeke. I do not believe Ezekiel Elliott will be cut from the Cowboys. I firmly believe that, and that's because the Joneses still have their faith in Zeke. They still think that he can carry the rock. They think that he's a vital, integral part of the organization's offense. And that's something I don't like to hear because, like, you shouldn't have a running back being your main focal point unless he's just killing it. Like, if he was putting up Derrick Henry numbers, having a completely different conversation. But I even went on the record and said this last year that is not a sustainable method to keep winning games. So, going back to this whole thing. Is this a make or break year for Zeke? No, I don't think it is. I think that Zeke still has plenty of time still, because if you try to cut him next year, it's just going to be a lot of dead cap on your salary cap. And if you're the Cowboys and you're trying to save money on the salary cap, your best bet would be to do what you did with DeMarcus Lawrence. Hey, Zeke, I understand you're making all this money. How about we redo your contract, make sure you're a Cowboy for life, but helps our team out? Now, whether Zeke wants to do that will be a different question, and I wouldn't blame him if he said no, because the Cowboys have shown that there is no point to doing that, because all you give a damn about is having all this godforsaken cap space. I don't give a shit if it rolls over, because when you roll over this cap space, you know, like, you still got to make all these moves to, you know, they're going to still restructure guys. That's part of the NFL. And Zeke, I think, still has a decent amount left in the tank to keep going, but I think 2022 will be a year where you kind of have to think about it, but regardless of what he does, you realistically can't get rid of him cleanly until 2025. But if you're like, we got to get rid of him, yeah, you can do it next year. But I'm not a big fan of doing that, especially, you know, hey, listen, you got a guy that's making all this money, and if you're really having these concerns about if he's going to do anything, you kind of got to wait and see. And that's the same thing for any player. Like, you know, granted, it's an ambiguous situation from player to player, but I think with Zeke, he still will be fine. I think the expectation with him, or rather his goal, should be get 1,000 yards, get between 6 rushing touchdowns plus, and you'll be fine. If you can average what you've been averaging thus far, I'm not going to have a problem with it. It's only when you deviate from the average is when we have a legitimate, serious issue. So, I think that pretty much covers everything. I mean, what do you guys think? Do you think that 2022 is going to be the make or break year for Zeke? Is it going to be later? I mean, listen, you got a potential out coming out, but we'll see what the Cowboys do here, because I know we had those same conversations with DeMarcus Lawrence. Hey, do we get rid of him? I know, like, some people were talking about it with Cooper, and, you know, like, we'll see. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Like, comment, subscribe, do all that. I answer the questions and stuff like that. Do you think that this is a make or break year? And I'll catch you guys later.